here we are. I don't know how this is going to go. I won't cry. I can't promise that. I remember being sat in the studio thinking, I think we're onto something here. This song could be awesome. And more importantly, like this song might save someone's life. I suppose we wanted to be really real. I think we want to be really real about what it's like to struggle with your mental health. For that to be a really real and ongoing wrestle, battle that you have. But all the while, you know, we've got faith in Jesus. We know that he's the source of life. We know that he's got our backs in the darkest days. And sometimes it can be a difficult thing to carry both of those things at once. You know, we believe that ultimately we're going to be with God in perfection when we die, when there's no more suffering, there's no more tears, the Bible says. But in the meantime, we're in a broken world, and life can be really, really hard. And so we just want to be really real about what that's like. And so I suppose this is probably the most vulnerable, honest thing I think I've written with the band. And yeah, we kind of went for it on this one, I think. All of these voices inside my head, sometimes they tell me I'm better off dead. I know the truth, feel it in my chest, so I choose to live and I won't fear death. So there's a young person that we know as a band who we're in contact with, and she messaged us one day to say, sometimes I feel like the only place I belong is in the ground. She's got her own faith, but she really, really struggles with what goes on in her head and the voices in her head telling her she's worthless, that she doesn't belong here, that her life will never change. And when she messaged us to say that, I think it really hit us all like a ton of bricks. I think we felt really heavy about it because we know her and we love her. We think she's amazing, and we know that she's been created by God with a plan and a purpose, and that he loves her. And for her to feel that hopeless, I think that was really hard to hear. And so I know that when we're writing this song, I wanted to write something from her perspective. All these voices inside my head, sometimes they tell me I'm better off dead. That's the reality of how she feels. That's the reality of how a lot of people feel sometimes. But I know the truth. I feel it in my chest. I choose to live, and I won't fear death. We wanted to write a song from her perspective, but as a declaration of what the actual truth was, recognizing all these things that are going on in her head, but also acknowledging the truth that God knows stuff she's going through. He hears her cry, he cares about her, and that ultimately he's got her back. And so that last line, I choose to live, even on the darkest days when my brain's telling me, you're better off dead. We want her to believe, I choose to live. And the rest of that line, I won't fear death. I won't fear the things of death. I won't fear those voices of death. I won't fear the things telling me I'm better off in the ground. They're there, those voices are there. They might not go away for a while, but I won't fear them, and I'll choose to live. Even though I've never been this low, I know you made a way to get out of this hole. You showed me that you love me, and I believe it, I believe it. So in the Bible, Jesus says, in this world you will have trouble. But he immediately then says, but don't fear, for I've overcome the world. And I think we live in this in-between state. You know, we're in a broken world and we're broken people and we hurt sometimes. In this world you will have trouble. That's what life is like. But the ultimate truth is that Jesus has overcome the world. In his death and resurrection, we believe that he's paid the consequences for all the brokenness in the world. And we can know that peace now in our lives, and ultimately we can be with him in perfection when we die. So I suppose the crux of this song is holding those two things in tension, where it feels like, well, how can they both be true? How can I know that I'm loved and that I'm valued and that Jesus has conquered death, but also feel like this? This song holds the tension that both those things can be true at the moment, because we live in a broken world, because we're not fully with Jesus yet. And so we hold on to the hope that we've got in Jesus, that there will be no more tears, that there will be no more suffering, that one day God will come and make everything right again. And if we want to be part of that, when he makes everything whole, when he mends everything, all we have to do is put our faith in him and say, Jesus, I believe you're going to make me whole. In the end of all things, I believe it's me and you. And so on those days, you know, even though I've never been this low, I know you've made a way to get out of this hole. There is nothing romantic about suicide. Don't you believe it? It's a filthy lie. Ain't no beautiful way to take your life. Jesus already made the sacrifice. Yeah, this was the one part of the song we actually didn't write on that day. Had some ideas for how the bridge was going to be, but nothing quite felt right, so we just left it. And I remember a few days later, I was listening to some music, and I heard this one song. It was a really, really good song by one of my favourite bands. I'm not going to at them in this video, but by one of my favourite bands that almost seem to glorify the idea of taking your own life. And I get what they were trying to say. They were trying to say, I feel so low that there's no other way out, and maybe I should just end it all. I get they weren't encouraging anyone to commit suicide, but it really, really got to me. Because I think a lot of music, especially in the genre that we're in as Amongst Wolves, a lot of music seems to hold that up as the ultimate escape. As, you know, actually, sometimes the only way out is just to end it all. And no one's actively encouraging anyone else to take their own lives, but sometimes we say that's the only way out. But that's not true. Suicide is not the answer. Sometimes it does feel like the only way out, but it's not. I think I felt like that once. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've had the worst life. I've been very blessed. But I remember when I was about 15 or 16, I really struggled with suicidal thoughts. I felt like my life wasn't going to change, that I wasn't going to get rid of this pain that I was feeling. And so I really thought about, what if I just killed myself? And the thing is, I didn't want to die. I didn't want to end my life. I just wanted to stop hurting. That was all I wanted. I wanted to stop feeling the way I was feeling. And, by the grace of God, I didn't attempt to take my own life, and I'm still here today. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because I know now, looking back, that it does get better, that wasn't my only option. But the thing that gets me is that I remember when I felt like that, I almost started to romanticize the idea of taking my own life. The internet was a really unhelpful place for that at the time. We would joke about it. We'd start to romanticize it. Oh, maybe it's a good thing. Oh, what about a beautiful death? Maybe there are more beautiful ways to take your own life than other ways. What would be a sexy way to end it all? And I think I really fell for it for a bit. I think I really believed that there was a beautiful way to end your life that would kind of somehow round off the narrative of your story as this beautiful tragedy. I think that is a lie. It's just a lie. There's nothing beautiful about taking your own life. There is nothing romantic about suicide. And with this bridge, we just wanted to take all of the metaphors off. We just wanted to get rid of any ambiguity and just say it how it is. There's nothing romantic about suicide. And when you feel like there's no way out, when you feel like you have no other option, Jesus made a way for you to be reconnected with God, the source of life, the ultimate and only reason to live. Jesus paid the price on the cross when he died for all of the brokenness in the world, all of your brokenness, all of my brokenness. Jesus paid for it, and he died with it, and he took it to the grave. And then when he came back to life, he left all that stuff in the grave and said, I have the power over life and death now. I have the power. I know we're doing a lyric explanation and whatever, but I want to say to anyone watching this that if you feel like taking your own life is the only way to end the pain, to stop the hurt, I'll beg you to choose to live. Jesus made a way for you to be reconnected with the source of life. Being a Christian is not about being good. It's not about following rules. It is about believing that your debt has been paid, that your brokenness has been paid for by God in human form as Jesus. So if you're thinking about taking your own life, ask God, ask Jesus, did you really pay the price for my life? So pause that right now and do that. But I promise you, no matter how low you feel, suicide is not the way out. Taking your own life is not the way out. Put your faith in Jesus, and when all things do come to an end, you will be with him, and there will be no more pain. There will be no more tears. Because yes, in this world you will have trouble, but Jesus says, take heart, I have overcome the world. So please, please choose to live.
There is nothing romantic about suicide. Don't you believe it? It's a filthy lie. Ain't no beautiful way to take your life. Jesus already made the sacrifice.